Is La Sportiva Skwama the most comfortable performance climbing shoe in 2025? Let's dive in with an honest climbing shoe review. Hello again from the French Pyrenees Mountains, where we have a beautiful snow day. I'm here with my entire collection of climbing shoes, which includes La Sportiva Skwama. I've been rock climbing for about 10 years now, and I've used a ton of different climbing shoes at this point. The very first pair of performance climbing shoes that I fell in love with were the La Sportiva Skwamas, but it took me a while to actually get there. Over the years, I had tried a bunch of different shoes. The very first pair of performance climbing shoes that I bought were the 510 Dragons. Now, this shoe I made the mistake of buying because everyone that I knew was using them, and they said they were the greatest thing ever. The problem that I had with the 510 Dragons were that I downsized way too much, and the heel cup I was always able to pull off of my heel completely when heel hooking, even though that the front of the shoe was super tight. After a while climbing with the 510 Dragons, I then switched to La Sportiva Otakis. This shoe was a better shoe for me overall. I found that the La Sportiva line of shoes typically fits me pretty well. I used this shoe pretty successfully for a while, but one of the problems that I always had with this shoe is that the rubber on these is the VRAM XS Edge, which is a really hard rubber, and me being a lighter climber, I'm about 5'6" and I'm 135 pounds, so I didn't find that these shoes gave a lot of sensitivity. And then also, one problem that they have is the toe hook. There is no rubber, there's minimal amount of rubber here on the toe box, which makes it really difficult to get in those toe hooks. You can do it, a toe hook certainly, but if you're toe hooking outside on rock that has sharp points on it, then you're gonna really notice that on the top of your toes, which gets to be very painful. It is so cold. With all the problems that I was starting to notice with the 510 Dragons and La Sportiva Otakis, this is actually what brought me to purchasing a pair of La Sportiva Skwamas. One of the first things that we'll notice about the La Sportiva Skwama is that they use the VRAM XS Grip 2 rubber, which is a much softer rubber compound in general when compared to the XS Edge or the XS Grip rubber. The XS Grip 2 rubber allows for a lot more sensitivity and is fantastic if you're a lighter climber like me. Flipping the shoe over, then we'll notice that the La Sportiva Skwama has an ample amount of rubber here on the top of the toe box, which is great for toe hooking. And in the back of the shoe, we have their patented S-heel technology. Now, in terms of the sizing for the La Sportiva Skwama, I think it's interesting to compare with some of the other climbing shoes in my collection. For my street shoes, including the giant snow boots that I have on, I typically wear a US men's size 8 or a European size 41, and that covers across just about every brand that I've ever worn. For the Madrock Drone 2 low volumes, I don't downsize at all. I use a European size 41 or US men's size 8. For the 510 Dragons, I was also not able to downsize at all. Then for the rest of the La Sportiva collection, I use a US men's size 5 or a European size 37. So I'm downsizing in the European sizes 4 sizes. Even though I'm using the same size for these 3 different model of climbing shoes from the same brand, La Sportiva, the way they fit is slightly bit different. The La Sportiva Otakis at a size 37 are a little bit too small for me. I think I would have been a lot happier at a 37.5 or potentially even a 38. Then, if you've seen a lot of my other climbing videos, you know that the La Sportiva Miuras are one of my go-to shoes. At size 37, they're the most comfortable climbing shoe I have, and I love them. And I would say that the La Sportiva Skwama at a size 37 is the happy medium. It is a pretty aggressive downsize, but it still maintains a nice level of comfort to where I'm able to use them all day or throughout a very, very long climbing session. I think for me, the thing that stands out most is the sensibility of the climbing shoe. It provides a lot of feeling, especially if you're climbing on smaller footholds. If we look at the tip of the shoe here in the toe box, we'll notice that it has kind of an arced concave shape, which is great, especially if you're toeing down on a steep overhang. One of the other big pros of the La Sportiva Skwama is just how comfortable it is overall. The shoe isn't exactly a slipper because it has this one strap Velcro design, but it's pretty easy to get on and off. They have 2 straps here in the back and a strap here on the top to use to pull on. And then it's an easy closure system that keeps it nice and tight around your foot. And then of course the rubber here for the toe hook is a definite upgrade, especially if we're comparing to the other La Sportiva shoes that I have in my collection, which have no rubber for toe hooking. The toe hook is great, I think, especially for indoor climbing holds and larger volumes where there's a larger, smooth surface to get that toe hook on. One final pro of the La Sportiva Skwama that I think is worth mentioning is the durability of the shoe. The pair of shoes that I've been holding up for the majority of this video is the brand new pair of La Sportiva Squamas that I had laying at the house. But these are actually the shoes that I bought sometime around the time of the pandemic in 2020. And we're in 2025, so they've got about 4 to 5 years of use now. And it's not the shoe that I use the most often, but this is the state of the rubber without ever being resoled one time. There's one thing that I've seen happen to just about everyone that uses this climbing shoe, and that's that there often forms this kind of rip here that starts from the top of the yellow part of the shoe that goes down through the underside. And some folks get this rip that goes all the way down into the heel cup. If that happens, the climbing shoe's pretty much toast and it's time to get another pair. Some of these things are just general wear and tear of a climbing shoe over the years. As you can notice that at the top, some of the rubber starts peeling off. That's happened here. That's why there's a piece of climbing tape over the top. One way around that I've found is because the rubber is so thin here on the toe box is that you can use super glue underneath and you can just put little dots of super glue, press down tight, and that'll kind of repair the shoe a little bit. Flipping over to the back, one thing that I had happen right away that I was a little bit bummed about is that these two straps I think are a little bit on the fragile side. I'm not sure how that they actually sewed them into the climbing shoe, but here is completely detached from the climbing shoe. If I pull too hard on this one, then I think at this point that'll rip off. I've had that happen to other climbing shoes in the past. If that does happen, it makes them way harder to get on. Going on the line to the general wear and tear, the Velcro at this point is pretty much shot. But again, these things are like 4, almost 5 years old. So I think that's just something that's bound to happen. While the La Sportiva Skwama has an ample amount of rubber here on the top of the shoe for toe hooking, one thing that I started noticing after using them a lot outdoors is that the rubber is a little bit on the thin side for my liking. If you're toe hooking on things that have sharp edges or handholds or footholds that have little crystals that'll start digging into your toes, this can be really problematic because it starts to hurt after a while. The other thing that I also don't like about the La Sportiva Skwama is the heel. I've never really been a fan of this S heel. I find that it's just too rounded. And when I'm climbing outdoors especially, and I'm trying to get a very technical heel hook on something that's small, precise, this shoe just doesn't do the job. When comparing the La Sportiva Skwama to other shoes in my collection, if we're talking about sensibility here in the toe box, the Squamas win over the Otakis and the Mad Rock drones. For the toe hooks, I do prefer the Mad Rock drones just because they have a much harder rubber, but the Skwama are going to prevail over the Miuras and the Otakis, which have absolutely no rubber on the top of the toe box. For the heel hook, I would say that I prefer the heels of the Miuras, and my absolute favorite heel for outdoor climbing specifically are the Mad Rock drones. I actually did a video about the Mad Rock drones like we're doing today. If you're interested in that, I'll try to link it somewhere here on the top of the screen and in the description below. Because both the Squamas and the Otakis have the same shape heel, they're pretty much the same. The break-in period for the La Sportiva Skwama was also extremely low. If you saw my video review that I did on the Mad Rock drones, you know that I spent like 1 to 2 months trying to get these things ready to go. It was worth it in the end, but it was a really long time to use them. Whereas the La Sportiva Squamas and La Sportiva Miuras actually were shoes that I've been able to use pretty much right out of the box on day one. If I were to have to give a rating to the different features of the La Sportiva Skwama, I think I'd start with 3.5 out of 5 for the toe hook, a 2.5 out of 5 for the heel hook, a 4 out of 5 for durability, and I think I'll go 4.5 out of 5 for the comfort of these shoes. The La Sportiva Skwama has been a great climbing shoe for me overall. I've been pretty happy with its performance. Over the years, I've used them to do some of the hardest climbs, including an 8B in La Pedrosa, Spain called Wild Wild West, which had an incredibly technical toe hook at the beginning of the climb. It was on a steep overhang inside of a cave, and I really needed the sensibility in the toes to press down hard on those in-cut holds and get the climb done. I will have to admit, though, that at this point, I think the Mad Rock drone has overtaken the La Sportiva Skwama for the shoe that I'm using for most of the climbs at this point, because I prefer the heel on the Mad Rock drone. But that being said, I think that the La Sportiva Skwama is a fantastic shoe, especially if you're looking for something that combines both comfort and performance, and is a great option for folks that are looking for an all-around climbing shoe that combines pretty much the best of all worlds in one place. If you have any questions about sizing, performance, or just want to share some of your own experiences with the La Sportiva Skwama, I'd love to see those in the comments below. But I'm starting to freeze my butt off, so I'll see you guys in the next video.